Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. How are you all doing? So yesterday I was making some worm chow. I'm going to put that on my website for sale and I'm going to be using it in my own bins. So today we're going to take the red wigglers and we're going to divide them into my other bins to start developing that starter colony, which is living starter colony. That's basically what I call it. I see some other people doing it, and I think it's a fabulous idea. The original creator of the starter colony is someone called Bentley Christie. And I learned it from him like 15 years ago, maybe. Yeah, it's where you take the bedding that the worms are living in inside your bin. You just take that, put it in your package, and ship it. So when you get it, you just dump it in your bin or your garden or your container or whatever it is, and the worms arrive already in their original home. You're not sifting peat moss into it, and it arrives moist. So that's been a little bit of a challenge for me, but I did get some tips from Mimi's Worm Farm, and I think it's going to be better for me this year with the tip I got from her. Thank you. So anyway, I'm going to go divide them, and I'm using coconut coir, even though I usually like to use sifted peat moss, but I just have so much coconut coir. I got to use it, guys. Things are so expensive out there. The 3 cubic square of peat moss, I used to pay 3 years ago, I paid $12 for it. Now it's $24. I know, it's horrible. So I'm trying to use what I have, coconut coir, shredded paper, shredded boxes, wherever I can, just to help this process. Plus, the microbes and the worms and everything just eats all that carbon. And it makes, to me, the bin just more balanced. Everything in life, including worm farming, is balanced. You can't have an extreme of one or the other, or eventually something is gonna go wrong. And I know you all have seen my videos. Boy, have I done some doozies. So anyway, let's get started, and I'm going to bring you with me. So let's go. So before we get started, here's my worm chow. I have it in the bucket when I made it with my EveryGrow machine, and I did it indoors. And it turned out amazing. So I'm doing some cleanup in here. I like to give my entire wormery a clean before autumn hits, and autumn, winter, and spring are my busiest times to ship worms, starter colonies, chow, just everything. And it's nice to get started when it's nice and clean. So besides setting up my bins, I'm going to do a cleanup. And my wall is here. This is all red wigglers. And the biggest problem we have as worm farmers is having enough room. So you will see that in time, this is going to fill up really fast. And then I'm going to have to just go to the other side of the wall. So even though I gave these guys fresh food, I'm going to have to move them. They are at the point where if I don't move them, I'm afraid I'm going to lose them. Worms, you can keep them in a container for so long, and then they peter out. And then they'll just die. And then they'll get eaten up by the bacteria. And then you'll look in your bin and you'll have nothing. And you'll be like, what the heck? Where'd they go? So anyway, I take my coconut coir bin and I put mosquito dunk water in it, which I have right here. Tip of the day. I use warm to hot water because it breaks up faster. Now, I never put my worms in here while it's warm. I give a chance for the coconut coir to absorb everything, and then as I massage it in, I check. So as I massage it in, I play with the coconut coir, I fluff it up really well, and I check it for temperature with my hand. Only because, and I've done it, guys, I've made every mistake on the planet. And these are the reasons I tell you these things, because I don't want you doing the same things I did. I can be a worm farming daredevil sometimes. I take a lot of chances and experiments I do with them, only out of curiosity, because I want to see what happens. But anyway, if you put the worms in while this bedding is too hot or too warm, they're going to run for their lives. I put a pound of red wigglers one time in one of these things, and I thought, well, it'll be all right. It's not that hot. They'll be okay. It'll cool off. Are you kidding? They ran for the hills. I had worms crawling up the bin, going over to their death on the floor. And I'm like, no. So anyway, just don't do it. Just don't do it. Don't do it. And if you're curious and you want to do it, do a little bundle like this in a bin and just see what happens. But I don't think you want to do that. So this usually absorbs pretty fast. Now, sometimes coconut coir, you'll find things like this. A piece of plastic. It annoys the crap out of me when I find things like that. But you know what? Worms, at least mine do. When there's something foreign in this, like the plastic or a piece of metal or something like that, something they can't eat, they will push it to the surface. And sometimes I'll open the bin and I'll be like, what's that little blue thing there? And I'll take it and it's a piece of plastic. And I knew it wasn't there the day before. So they do that. But you will find things, you know, sometimes, you know, in this stuff. I don't know how they make it. I've never watched a video. That might be a video I might be interested in looking at. So I don't know. But, you know, I let this sit in water and I play with it a little bit. And then as it absorbs, I just go do other things, you know. But while I'm here and this is absorbing its thing, let me take the cover off. And I'm going to bring you in closer so that you can see them instead of me so much. Someone in my comments said that I clean up nice. Thank you. I love my YouTube community, I swear. All right, let me get you closer in there. All right, so before anything else, press that subscribe button, give me the thumbs up, watch my videos, share with family and friends. I really appreciate it. Now that I'm doing this full time, I really need the help. So as you can see, they are going through this stuff like, remember I did 3 trenches? Look at them. There's very little left, which I had a feeling, you know. Usually they eat wet foods faster than like a piece of carrot or something. They look really good. Yeah, these babies are ready to go in fresh bedding so that can create cocoons and babies and send to you. So a starter colony or living compost. We got to come up with a better name for this stuff. So what we do is everything that you see here, which are the adults, the babies, wisp, teenagers, cocoons, their bedding, like everything here, when you buy a box, we take it like this and ship it to you. I've seen Mimi's video and they're arriving great. I think she said in her comments that they're coming from a supplier, which, guys, it is no secret that these days a lot of farmers are using worm suppliers, other people. It's kind of like a giant community and we got to help each other. Especially like since I had an injury, you know, I'm very grateful that there were people willing to help me so I just wouldn't lose everything. And, you know, she's probably doing the same thing, which I think she did in one of her comments. She said that. But they're arriving great to her. So I'm gonna start shipping. You see, I don't know if I should continue using those bags that I put them in or not. I'm kind of nervous just putting this in a box and shipping it. But I don't know. So this is living material, and you can see their little yellow tails are just so cute. Hi, little guy. Hi, little guy. So what's good about shipping worm colonies like this is you get thousands of worms, like thousands. When you buy a pound of red wigglers, it's usually 1,000 worms. In a thing like this, there are so many worms and cocoons, you can't possibly count them. It's definitely more than 1,000. I would say about 1,500. Because there are just so many, and they come in so many different sizes. You cannot count them all. You can't, it's impossible. You just take an educated guess. And, you know, it has everything in it. But I'm showing you how I work it. So if you want to do the same thing, when you get your package, you just take it, and this exact product, you dump it into your bin. If it's dry, wet it down, give it a little mix, cover it with wet newspaper, a damp box, and please use mosquito dunk water. If you want to make your life better without having flying insects, you need mosquito dunk water. And I'm sure I have tons of videos talking about that, demonstrating it. I'll see if I could link one here. If not, please go find it. It'll just make your life so much easier. You know, it just does. You'll see little springtails in here. Springtails are like these little white, they look like little white, I can't even explain it. That probably is not going to show it. See it walking there? Oh yeah, I can see it. They're just part of the composting world, and they live in worm bins, and they're very beneficial and excellent. They don't hurt your worms. They don't compete with your worms. They just don't do anything. If you see them in excessive amounts and you don't want them, for some reason there are people that are afraid to touch their worms. I know people that are afraid to touch a springtail. You just fluff up your bin and let it dry out for a few days, but not to the point where you dry it out to where your worms die. You just dry it out to where the springtails disappear. They don't like dry conditions, so they will vanish. So you don't have to worry about that. So anyway, I'm gonna leave this like this. They're gonna go down into the bedding, and this stuff over here is still working on breaking up. So now let me just leave them alone for a little bit. And then I need a name for my starter colony, so help me come up with one. So I'm still breaking this up. I had to add a little more water. And we're just working it in. Now, if I add too much water, and I don't feel like breaking up another coconut core, I'll add paper, shredded cardboard, something else that can absorb it, you know? Yeah, I really wish the cost of things would just come down. Because, man, it's rough. So these starter colonies, they've done great shipping them ground. Like they have a ground advantage now instead of priority. And they arrive fine because since they're not mixed with peat moss, they're not being dehydrated, you know, which is cheaper costs of shipping for me. But I might add an option, I'm not sure, of if you want priority, you know, I'll make that available. I don't know yet. I don't know. Every year, like, the post office just goes up in price, goes up in price, goes up in price. Every year. It's like, or even twice a year. It's like, geesh, come on, guys. So how are you all doing? Are you doing great? Look, I found another, who knows what, piece of plastic. This is almost ready. See, I start out my breeder bins like very wet. And only because I know the worms like it. And they tend to thrive in very moist material. Guys, worms, #1 killer of worms is lack of moisture. They could go a little bit without food because they'll just eat their own bedding. But moisture, yeah, nah. Moisture kills them, the babies, the wisps, the youngsters, the teenagers, the cocoons, everybody. Everyone goes down. It's not a good thing. And I've done it accidentally. Like I have forgotten to feed a bin because I pushed it back and I thought I did. And, you know, life happens. And then I go and look and it's like, where are they? Oh, man, they died. So it happens to everyone. So don't sweat it if that happens. Just pick up the pieces. You know, I always tell you that. Don't beat yourself up. Pick up the pieces and take it from there. So what am I putting in the bin? I am putting some straw. I always add pine shavings also, especially when I'm setting up the breeder bins because it's going to take them a little bit to work through it and just stay in here. But they didn't have the little pine things. For some reason, I think people are buying them for their animals. So I was able to get pine in pellets. And when you wet them, they just break up. So I'll show you a cup of those. Well, a half a cup so you can see what they look like. All right, so this is what the pine looks like. It just comes in pellets. It's natural pine. Doesn't have any chemicals or anything crazy. It does break up though when it gets wet. Slowly, but it does. So I mix that in. That's only a half a cup because I'm showing you, but I'm going to get a little more. The worms just seem to love it. Especially the African, not the African night crawlers, the European night crawlers. I don't know why. They love straw and they love pine. At least the ones I raise. It's so weird, but you know, worms are weird, so that's all right. I also put only about 2 to 3 inches of bedding. And there are reasons. Breeder worms don't need deep bedding. Plus, it becomes too heavy if you add a lot more. And these mortar bins, trust me, when they start getting wet with and heavy with castings, they get very heavy. So I'm just going to mix this all in. And you know, the straw will also help absorb more of the water. And right now I feel the temperature is good. So we're going to be mixing some in. That looks good. And that's 1 brick of coconut coir. It gave me the amount that I need. So if you get a good deal on coconut coir bricks, you know, stock up because, well, you know, everything costs a lot. So let me move you over here. I'm going to start grabbing them. So this bin, I'm going to divide it in quarters. So I'm going to set up 4 bins today. And even though I fed them their lettuce and all their stuff, look at that. That's beautiful. I'm still just going to throw them in here. So a quarter is 1/4 of the bin. So I know a lot of young people watch me and they might not know what that is. That means you take the bin and you divide it in 4 parts. And we're going to take one of those parts, like this one, and we are going to put it in this bin. So right there you can tell how quickly one of these things can fill up. Very quickly. Let's see. All right. I think that'll be enough. I'm trying to just get everything in this corner. All right. Let's see what's left. I still have this corner, that corner, and this one. So There we go. And then they're in here. I swear, I have so many bloopers in this video. Oh gosh. Yeah, look, I hate tripods. I swear, I have a love-hate relationship with my tripods. Anyway, let me have a sip of my coffee. I don't know if I should have any more coffee today. Anyway, so I'm going to show you a little trick I do. See what I mean? Things move around in this house by themselves. That had no reason to fall. Anyway, I don't care. I don't pay attention to them. So, the grit. See this? It's oyster shell, but do you notice the color? It has a little hue of pink or like a light purple. So, I don't all the time grind my oyster shell because I notice that it breaks up in the bin anyway. But I do add a little, and this is a little secret, so I'm gonna give it away. I do add a little beetroot powder or hibiscus powder and azomite minerals to my oyster shell. It gives them grit. They love it. It gives them vitamins and minerals that I know they need. You know, even composting worms, health is important in order for them to thrive. So that's a little tip for you. So do it. If you could get it. If you can't get it, it's okay. If you grow beets in your garden, take one and just shove it in there. And that'll do the same thing. Oh. That stuff is very powdery. So, yeah, I cough sometimes. But on top of the castings, it looks like pink. Look at it. I love that. So I'm just going to mix it in. I'm going to mix them in. I do plan on planting my garden next spring. I'm gonna do it. My knee will be a lot better by then. And that is the goal. And leaves are gonna start soon. Leaves are already starting. My leaves, I always heat treat them first. And I can show you how to do that in a video. So that when you get them, there's no living creatures in the leaves. And you know, the best castings, I'll always say, are when I fed leaves. The blackest castings I have gotten was when I fed leaves. The leaves I have here on my property are oak, maple, linden, beech, like B-E-E-C-H, and black gum. I've seen those trees in my yard and beyond my property and like in the forest. And I know that those are the leaves that we get here. So I'm pretty lucky to have it. It's a process and a half to treat these leaves. So yeah. I also keep my worm chow in a little container here in the wormery. I fill it up and then I use it as I go. Now, a lot of people have asked me, how much worm chow do I use in one of these mortar bins? And these are the smaller mortar bins they sell in the big box stores. They're not the big ones. For the worms that I put in here, I feed a 1/4 cup twice a week. So let's say I feed today, it's Monday, let's just say. And I come back on Thursday and I take a peek. If there's still food, I don't give them any more. Because what I'm going to do is create a problem. I'm going to notice that they're just not keeping up with it because there aren't enough worms in there. Eventually they will, but that's what will happen. So that Thursday, I just leave them alone. And then that Monday, when I look at them, the food will probably be gone by then. And then I give them a 1/4 cup. So a 1/4 cup twice a week for these smaller mortar bins. So I know people have asked me, I've probably said it before, but there's a lot of new people here. So once I reach 10,000 subscribers, I plan on doing a giveaway, but I got to get there. And I'm at 8,600 something. I'm not sure. I don't remember. I don't really look at that a lot. I just focus on creating content, doing my editing, and just giving you the best quality I can. Because you're here to watch, not to, you know, not to see garbage. So that's what's going on. So now that they've settled, and as I'm going to bring you in again, you can see that they've gone down, which means the bedding temperature was perfecto. Did you guys like my Spanish video, by the way? I did that for my dad. He's so sweet, and he loves my garden. He loves my worms. You know, my dad's the first one that introduced me to worms when I was a kid, and that's when I became obsessed. So as you can see, the worms have gone down. They're going to do their thing. I'm going to get the worm chow, and we are going to feed them together. Even though they have a couple of pieces of lettuce, that's not going to be enough to get them until, you know. I do see my worms every day, but I don't feed them every day. So this is half a cup scoop here. So I'm going to feed a quarter cup, which is half of this. So what I do is I take my little thing, and this is just to show you measurements because I eyeball this because I've been doing it so long, and I am a head cook and I know what the measurements look like. So that's a quarter cup because this is a half a cup and this is half of it. So I just go like this. I just sprinkle. Then I'll cover this with wet paper, a wet box. If you don't have paper, newspaper, you can take a box, an Amazon box, any box. You can soak it in water and put it on the surface, and the worms will absolutely love it. So you see these leftover boxes I have from a Quaker Oats thing I had bought? I just take a few pieces. I see that they fit, and then I'm going to go wet them. So here they are. They're wet. All right. There's the beginning of the starter colony. I cover them back up with their bubble wrap because I'm sure there are youngsters in here. Oh yeah, look, worms. I'm probably gonna call Mimi tomorrow from Mimi's Worm Farm. Mimi and I talk about, I think, once a year or twice a year, just to catch up on life and see how she's doing and her family. And I tell her about mine. So it's good to have good connections. I'm going to cover this. All right. So now I'm going to put them back on the wall, and I'm going to do 4 more of these. And then I'll be done for the day. So anyway, I hope you learned something, guys. Press that subscribe button, and I'll see you all next time. Take care.